Fight fans, fight fans, fight fans. This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News. And I have some new news to Counterpunch concerning Dante's Boxing Nation, the LDBC, all together with this new information that was sent to me. Now, it reads that Tyson Fury has to pay Deontay Wilder $80 million. Okay, this is some weird shit. 80 million. Trilogy or $80 million for Deontay Wilder. This one's from Blue Blood Sports TV. Look, 10 million was too much. Way too much for step aside money, right? And I think it was 30 million was like the last number. It was something, it was around that number. Now, $80 million for a guy that's not even fighting to step aside for a guy that is. How in the hell does that make sense? Like, what kind of arbitration would guarantee or grant somebody $80 million for something that really they don't have control over? Now, I know Bob Arum with the pushing the fight back and this, that, and the other, but a lot of this was due to an act of God, was due to the coronavirus. People forget that there were different reasons why. Okay, because it's supposed to happen in July, but Wilder's supposed to have been in recovery in July. So nobody really knew and got down to the truth of that, because I heard too many things I don't even know what the truth is no more. So that's just what it is. But saying that those fights kept getting pushed back, kept getting pushed back. And if they have to settle with $80 million, first of all, how much did they make in the first fight? Why would you give someone $80 million when the second fight didn't even gross half that? Those guys didn't get $80 million, right? They didn't even get that combined with the combined purse. I think their combined purses was like maybe 60, 50. I think Wilder got 30, and I think Tyson got 30, maybe, right? The gate numbers were off the chain, but I don't know how much the pay-per-views were. So, again, them saying $80 million, I don't know where they come up with that shit. I've looked it up. I've looked around, because when I heard it, I'm like, okay, well, where is this at on mainstream television, on mainstream sites? You know, like, I get the 10 million because the 10 million was floating around, but $80 million, that's just some shit either you heard or, hey, I don't want to give up a particular source. But see, this is what happens when people are getting fed a bunch of bullshit. See, let's say, for example, Wilder or somebody on Wilder's team sent one of those cats over there this info, right? Which more than likely could have happened. They send them that info, and they don't want to say that they got it from them, but then indeed they got it from them. They got it from some side over there, unless they just made the shit up, which is far much worse, right? But even if they didn't make the shit up, they don't tell or qualify where it's coming from. So if they don't do that and they can't do that, that makes what they're throwing at people bullshit. And I'm going to tell you why. Because people are not very smart. Let's just face it. You know, I like to think that the people that come to my channel are pretty intelligent. People that watch my videos, some of them, because some of them just watch it to speculate, you know what I mean? But the people that are subscribers on my channel, they come here to get news that makes sense, right? From a balanced point of view. That's all I want. That's all I give, right? What I don't want, and I do understand that there are channels that have subscribers that are stupid. So when they hear shit like trilogy or $80 million for Deontay Wilder versus Spence and versus, look, when you hear that, someone that's simple-minded with a very low IQ, people, are going to believe that shit. And they're going to see it, hear it, believe it, and they'll be sitting up in some barbershop today talking about, man, they got to pay Wilder $80 million so he fight him, dog, which they don't really understand. They don't really understand and question the legitimacy of that because it has to be coming from someone that has a shitload of subscribers. He can't be lying, or he can't just be hearing a rumor that he's feeding the subscribers because they're not that smart. So if they're, you know, they don't question them because they don't question their own intellect. They don't really think outside the box because a lot of people that do hear that stuff are followers. Okay? They don't think for themselves. They don't think like, that don't make sense because the $80 million is more than Tyson Fury would get for fighting Joshua. So why would you add $5 more million and then give that to Deontay Wilder that's not doing a fucking thing? He just started fucking training mitts lately that we've witnessed, actually seen him do. So how is this guy going to be guaranteed $80 million to fight someone and take his whole purse? I never heard of it. You can't make this shit up, but it happens. It just happens. Again, I'm not saying that they made it up. They could have, but I'm not saying that they necessarily did. What I'm saying is, because based on what we've learned from the past, the same shit that they were feeding, there's a good chance that Deontay Wilder fed them half of that shit. And I think they really filled in the rest. But knowing what we know, there are things that come from that side that people have intel on. I get that. I get inside intel, right? But I'm at liberty to say, like, yo, this is what happens. You know what I mean? Unless it's coming from somewhere else. Now, that's a whole different story. But in that case, it's not qualified anyway. Because why? It's not coming from the fucking person that it's about. It's still someone saying something about someone else and then me spreading it on to someone else and to you guys or to other people who would listen, which is not being qualified, right? And I always tell people, like, listen, this is the source, not saying that it's necessarily true, you know, but this is ridiculous. Them big news, Tyson Fury has to pay Deontay Wilder $80 million. You know, and then you know something strange. I've been told that Deontay Wilder hears this shit and he's sitting back laughing his ass off because he sees how untrue it is. So again, it doesn't always even have to come from Wilder's camp. Okay, this just comes from some random person or they make the shit up. And then while they're doing that, spreading this bullshit to everybody that would listen, that ain't smart enough to understand, like, well, didn't Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua agree to $75 million apiece? Why the fuck would Deontay Wilder get $80 million? That by itself should make you think. But of course, a lot of people are not that smart. So don't believe the hype. And if you do, chances are you're not smart. But anyway, that's my counterpunch on that. You guys tell me what you think about Deontay Wilder possibly getting $80 million to step aside for the Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua fight. Oh, by the way, is dead in the water. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.